is Charlie Zully, and you are attending the Metropolitan Council meeting this Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. Welcome. If you're watching online, you can certainly always make comments and you can listen to me, you can listen to the echo of me.
Be at the last meeting.
Go to public.info@metc.state.mn.us if you'd like to issue comments. But before we have an active agenda of a number of business items, and then we're going to be having a public hearing that starts at 5 o'clock on our Imagine 2050, our regional development guide. But that, so in a sense, we have two meetings on this agenda. And unless there's a disagreement, I will take the agenda as being approved. There were minutes from our meeting on September 11th, 2024 that was sent out in advance. And if there's any corrections, additions, questions, otherwise I would welcome a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Move approval.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. Any comments, questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, those minutes are approved. We now have an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda. And I know we have one person who's here to address the public. So Mayor Adams, welcome to the Met Council.
Thank you. Where do I go, here?
Sure, or yeah, wherever you'd like, yeah. Yeah, and just for the record, I have some written comments which Mindy is going to help me make sure everybody gets a copy. Here.
Well, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. I know some of you, not all of you. It's nice to be here. It's nice to know that this open forum is available to anybody, and I really appreciate that opportunity. I know we offer it during our council meetings, and it's something that I think is just not used well enough, and it's something that it gives us an opportunity to, comes directly to you. So I don't know, I don't really have a script. That's why I put some things on paper. But I just wanted to make sure that you all know that there's some struggles in relationship to LRT and the Blue Line extension. It's been a challenge. I've been going to CMC meetings for 12 years, and there's been a lot of different things that have happened. I think you'll see a lot of it, some broken trust between the project office as well as through Hennepin County. And we are entering a space right now where it's starting to feel very familiar to some of those old stressors that kind of have haunted me through the project. It's one of those things where we were given assurances and, verbal assurances and promises made, and we actually put them in writing because we were a little squirmish about, the verbal agreement. And at the end of the day, what we put in writing never got followed through, and that was in the old alignment when it was on the freight line. So try to understand the spirit of why I'm here. I need to be here to protect the interests of Crystal. Last time when we had municipal consent on the other line, it was really interesting because what we put in writing was, we put it in writing, and at the end of the day, it got voted down. And the thing about it was, we needed to, well, the promises that were made in the old alignment, they didn't come true. And here we are again. It's been the council, or excuse me, the CMC, we responded to the CMC and said, hey, we got some concerns. This was 18 months ago now on the new alignment. And we didn't get a response for 16 months. And the response wasn't much. It just said, okay, we received your letter. These things that are going to be challenged for us to accommodate, that sort of thing. So we had municipal consent at our last council meeting about a week and a half ago. And we tabled it because there were a lot of assurances coming from Hennepin County, promising this, promising that. We'll put it in writing, putting in writing. And I'm sitting in my chair going, this is way too familiar. When we had that vote on the other alignment, we didn't vote yes and we didn't vote no. we didn't vote, and that we understood to be deemed passed, and it was passed actually a couple weeks after we made that vote. And the reason we did that was because we didn't want to have to vote no and go through a process that came here to this room to solve something that was already put in writing, something that we already agreed to. But then 8 months later, it got crunched. And you'll see some comments, and they seem kind of wild, illegal votes, things like that. We had county commissioners voting that didn't have a voting right to get rid of that pedestrian bridge that I'm referring to. So the lack of trust in this late hour, after 18 months, promising this, that, and the other thing, I'm not there. My council currently is in a no position, so is my staff. I don't know if it will last. I know Hennepin County is working really hard to assure us and put it in writing in a way where we'll accept that. I don't believe I'll ever get there. So I just want you to understand the challenges and the spirit. I want to vote no so that we can be assured that everything that is being promised comes through. So it's been 12 years of a lot of different things. I think I started my memo with I have several things, and I ended up with like 14. I was really kind of surprised. I'm not sure I got them all. But I want you to be aware of what's going on and how we got to this place, and if it does go in a negative direction, it's not about Crystal hating on the light rail. It's about assuring the citizens. I do understand, and I don't know why it doesn't show up on a lot of the research that's been done with CMC, but my citizens do not reflect the data that's coming out of the project office. Not even close. And I don't know why. But I think you needed to hear that message and just know that whatever happens, we'll be voting on October 1st. And I'm not sure how far staff is going to get. If staff gets to a place where they're comfortable, it's likely that some of the other council members may as well. But I'm not sure of that because I've been communicating with them very clearly what the challenges are all the way along the line. So I'm not sure. I wish I had more for you. That's kind of all I got.
Well, thank you for coming to us here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the council? All right, then we'll move on to the consent business items. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, that motion carried. On to our reports of standing committees. We have one action in the Environment Committee. Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have business item 2024-228, and this requests that the council authorize a public hearing to gather input on the draft facility plan for the Forest Lake Interceptor. This is Interceptor 7029. It's a rehabilitation, project number 808603. And we did a condition assessment of this interceptor. It determined that it's in pretty poor condition. And 3 areas of improvement have been proposed: cleaning the existing interceptor, rehabilitation through trenchless methods, and replacement of some existing structures. Public hearing is required for a draft facility plan prior to the adoption by the council as a condition for obtaining project financing through the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority. Therefore, Mr. Chair and members of the council, I move that the council authorize a public hearing to gather input on the draft facility plan for the Forest Lake Interceptor 7029 rehabilitation, project number 808603.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That Motion carried. On to the Management Committee. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I bring forward business item 2024-248. This is a same week item heard from the Management Committee just ahead of this meeting tonight. It's the labor agreement with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union Number 110, IBEW. The IBEW contract expired on April 30th of this year. IBEW Local 110 represents 40 employees who perform electrical maintenance work and environmental services. The parties reached a tentative agreement on September 4th, 2024, and following the recommendation from IBEW Executive Board, the IBEW membership ratified the agreement on September 12th of 2024. Highlights of the agreement include a 3-year contract effective May 21st of this year to April 30th of 2027, a compensation package that includes a $5.59 general wage increase in year 1, a $4.40 general wage increase in year 2, and a $4.59 general wage increase in the 3rd year of the contract, matching the industry standard. Language changes include clarifying work location and on-call assignments to align with business needs. The wages and benefits negotiated in this agreement are consistent with the agreements placed in place with the council and other labor unions. The cost of the labor agreement was reviewed by finance and was negotiated within the economic parameters established by the council. This item was reviewed and approved today by the Management Committee unanimously on September 25th. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move approval to authorize the regional administrator to enter into a labor agreement with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 110, effective May 1st, 2024 through April 30th, 2027.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, again, I just want to thank everybody who's been part of the bargaining process. Again, we've been routinely bringing forward really great settled contracts. So thanks to our team. And again, thank you to IBEW. They perform really important work here at the council. We really value the work. We think they're great members of our family here at the Met Council and appreciate reaching an agreement with us. So I'm just proud to move this forward today.
Thank you. Good job all around. With that, we can have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. On to transportation. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-216, same week, is regarding executing a contract for microtransit software. Microtransit is an app-enabled real-time shared ride transit service. The council operates microtransit service under the program named Metro Micro. Metro Micro began in September 2022 with a pilot service area in North Minneapolis. Council staff has learned from the pilot and is prepared to expand the service. This agreement will provide the software necessary to support the program transition from its single pilot zone to a full-fledged program with 8 additional service zones planned to launch between late 2024 and 2028. An RFP for the software was released in early June, and 4 proposals were received on July 17th. A panel of council staff and an MVTA representative met and evaluated proposals based on proposal quality, qualifications, and experience, capabilities, and ability to deliver the service and price. The proposal submitted by Spare Labs Incorporated was determined by the panel to be the most advantageous to the council. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 24P015 with Spare Labs Incorporated to provide software that will support microtransit service operations in an amount not to exceed $852,100.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council members, business item number 2024-219 is regarding the 2025 through 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. The TIP is a 4-year program of transportation projects funded in whole or part with federal funding. The 2025 through 2028 TIP is a multimodal program of highway, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian projects in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. The TIP includes $6.2 billion in projects and contains projects using federal formula funds selected by MnDOT and the council, along with projects selected through the regional solicitation. The TIP is consistent with the Transportation Policy Plan adopted by the Metropolitan Council on November 18, 2020, with FHWA and FTA conformity determination established on December 4, 2020. TAB held a 45-day public comment period and reviewed and provided the council with a public comment report, which included 98 comments from 94 sources. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt the 2025 through 2028 Transportation Improvement Program for the Twin Cities Metropolitan Region, and certify that the Twin Cities Metropolitan Planning process is addressing major issues facing the metropolitan planning area and is being carried out in conformance with all the federal applicable requirements as listed in the business item. Certify the TIP conforms to the provisions of 49 CFR Part 20 regarding lobbying restrictions on certain federal activities. Find that the TIP is consistent with the TPP, which is in conformance with applicable federal transportation and air quality regulations. Find that the TIP meets all federal requirements. Find that TAB provided adequate opportunity for involvement from the public, agency, and transit operators through its regular process and public comment period, and transmits the 2025 through 2028 TIP, along with its public comments to the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion, comments? It is, all right. Then, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. On your third item, Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-193 is regarding release of the Metro G-Line Recommended Corridor Plan for public comment. The Metro G-Line Recommended Corridor Plan identifies station locations for the G-Line Arterial Bus Rapid Corridor. A draft version of this plan was published on September 25th, 2023. Comments on the draft plan were accepted through November 6, 2023, with significant communications and outreach activities conducted during the comment period and continuing since last fall. A summary of feedback received on the draft corridor plan and responses to comment themes are included in the recommended corridor plan. Based on feedback received on the draft plan, staff reevaluated proposed station and platform locations at 8 stations. 3 stations have additional analysis but no recommended changes. 5 stations have recommended changes. Following the release of the recommended corridor plan, staff will continue outreach and engagement around the plan. Staff will bring a final corridor plan, including public comment, for council approval following the recommended plan comment period. Upon completion and approval, the plan will identify the final plan locations for G-Line stations in advance of engineering. Discussion at the Transportation Committee included support for the study of future G-Line alignment extensions, interest in bus-only lanes along the corridor, and questions about planning considerations for mid-block platforms. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the council authorize release of the Metro G-Line Recommended Corridor Plan for public review and comment, and direct staff to collect public comments through Friday, October 25th, 2024, summarize comments, and report the findings to the Metropolitan Council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All right. Yes, Councilmember.
Just a very quick comment. I really want to thank our staff. We've got Katie Roth and Kyle O'Donnell Burrows who are in the audience. The way they presented this information at Transportation Committee was just very helpful, and how they receive public comment and evaluate and look where some of these stations go and why and where they make changes. So if anyone wants to learn and take a deeper dive, I encourage you to go back and watch the committee meeting or take a look at the presentation, because it was very interesting. And also just highlight that this is going to be a great route for the east side of the Metro.
It's going to be a great route. We're already at G. We keep going. All right.
We'll be at Z soon enough.
I'm waiting for that Z line. All right. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. Thank you so much. Those are the business items for our business meeting. There is our hearing, as I mentioned, which by notice, we are required to hold that at 5 o'clock, so we have a little bit of time. I invite you to look at some of these posters and flags and videos that are around the room. This is really wonderful part of our art and policy initiatives, and certainly important for our parks. And I see our group here, tremendous effort of not only our artists in residence, Amanda Lovely, but a particular Minneapolis artist, Peter Hawken Thompson, and local artist Louis Fitch created the posters. And it is really kind of exciting to think of not just our love of art, but how we can actually stimulate engagement as people reflect on the Minnesota they want in the future. And that's what this regional development guide is all about. So, and since I'm just taking everybody's time, I'm going to describe going to Lebanon Hills Park in Eagan. Councilmember Wolf was there, plus three of the buses. One wasn't there, that were wrapped with these artists' visions and beautiful work. And it was just a beautiful day, Sunday, to witness that, to see some of our work in action. And if you ever get invited to policy, pizza, and ping pong, show up, because it's pretty exciting. Yeah, any other comment? Go ahead, Councilmember.
I'd just like to comment on Louis Fitch, who handles his graphics over to the left.
Yes.
His exhibit is, it's still, I think, at the Bloomington Art Center over there. It's really a great exhibit. And actually, the Mexican consulate showed up, gave Luis an award. Other than that, Luis chaired the commission that put together the new flag and seal. So that was tough work, imagine that. I mean, people had all kinds of comments on it. He's originally from Mexico, actually, and California, but he managed to manage that endeavor, and he was again recognized by it's the Mexican government puts an award out for people of Mexican descent, making a difference around the country, and he also received that. So, but I would encourage you to go out to the Bloomington Center. He has not only the graphics, but some ceramics and other things that he's doing that really impressive.
Oh, great, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Here's your moment. How about Mr. Regional? Yeah, Sue.
I have one thing. I've been absent about the equivalent of a month during the last 4 months due to respiratory issues, and I just want to thank the staff who are so patient, and my fellow colleagues who are so patient with my absence. But the staff, and in particular the recording secretaries and Greg, they make it possible for us when we're not here to either watch the committee or council live, or we can go back and look at it later. And it's just so helpful. So I just wanted to say thanks. I think I'm through the worst of it, and I'm gonna be in line to get that COVID shot as soon as I can, because I'm not messing with that again. Thank you.
Yeah, good for you. And great sentiment. Anyone else? Mr. Regional Administrator, any reports?
Two things, Mr. Chair. We had the opportunity last week to spend time with a delegation from our region in Toronto as part of the intercity leadership visit. One big takeaway, I just think, for this group that was we were talking and downloading on the big scale takeaways. I mean, Toronto is the fastest growing city in North America. It's the fourth largest city in the country, or on the continent. And so there are parts of it that feel different, but then there are parts that do not. And they are currently spending about $80 billion on transit investments, which when you compare our size to theirs, it's actually not all that disproportionate. It's pretty similar. But the takeaway that they warned us is we screwed up and fell behind and waited until everything was a problem with congestion. And now we have to make the congestion that's already a problem even worse because we didn't do the work we needed to do before it got there. And I kid you not, there were 5 consecutive stories in the local news focused on congestion where they were walking and interviewing people like on the freeway while they were sitting there. It's quite funny, actually. But it got to the point. And it was just it's a lesson for our region as we think about all the different types of large-scale infrastructure development we do. And also the reminder that our work has benefits both to the direct user, but to everybody else across a region. And it's always good reminders to continue to stay sharp in moments of success, but also those of challenge. And that was just a big takeaway I wanted to share.
Thank you.
And then second, I'm going to read a letter that I received last week. It showed up addressed to Met Council staff, but it applies to all of you as well. I don't always get to read a letter out loud, but it said, "Hi, I'm going to be a big fan when the Gold Line opens in March 2025. I'll be going on it a lot when it is open. They are doing a great job on it. The Gold Line will be a big plus to St. Paul, to Woodbury. I thank God we have the Gold Line. Thank you for all your hard work in the past. Keep up the great job. All of you are number one. May God bless you all and have a great day. Your number one fan. And because I didn't talk to the person, I'm not going to share their name out loud. I'll leave it here. But then the letter ends with, the Metropolitan Council is number one, 3 exclamation points. I love St. Paul, Minnesota. So that is my
Wow.
letter today. And it's going on my wall on behalf of all staff at the council who have been doing this work. But actually, in all seriousness, it was a very clear reminder to me of the ways in which, as we connect communities through our work, it can be seen as a lifeline by many who may otherwise feel isolated or stranded in different ways. And I appreciate you giving me it. I told the chair I was going to read the letter because it showed up at first. And I kind of didn't know what I was about to open. Then I read it and went, I'm bringing this one to the meeting today. So thank you.
Absolutely.
We're number one. Do we get jerseys or something?
Yeah,
They're in development.
Thank you.
the letter is suitable for framing. General counsel, any reports?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't get
Can't
any
top that.
letters like that.
You get letters. Not like that.
So I guess I'll go no report. Thank you.
All right. All right, well, again, we're welcome to mill around for a half an hour, but we'll reconvene for public hearing. In the meantime, this council meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Or you can sit
You
next
can do
to,
panorama.
you could be Chai Lee for a minute, maybe.
You have a wide angle lens?
It's pretty wide. I got you in it, Wendy, but
Okay.
it kind of ends at you.
Nice.
All right.
Thank you. Great work, great work.
And Robert, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to let my colleagues know that I need to leave at 5:30 today. I made a teaching commitment months before this hearing was scheduled, and I want to apologize to my colleagues, to staff, and to those who are testifying here for my absence. And I will watch the entire hearing on video archive, so
That's fair.
thank you.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. That was just a moment for a few announcements. Welcome. This is a public hearing before the Metropolitan Council, and we are here to hear comments on the 2050 Regional Development Guide, Imagine 2050. This is a public comment period on the draft policy plan. And we've been having that public comment period from August 15th to October 7th. So in addition to this public hearing, there's many opportunities to make comments and to get input to the council. And one of the ways, in addition to this public hearing, is to write the Met Council at 390 Robert Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55101. That's where we are now. You can email the Met Council at public.info@met.state.mn.us. And also, if you would just like to call, there is a public comment line, so you can actually record a comment line at 651-602-1500, and it's a TTY, which is a accessible line, 651-291-0904. Or post your online comment portal found at engage.metrocouncil.org. You don't have to do every one of those. You can do just one of those, but there's many ways to get to us. So before we get started, I just want to note again that the art we have in the room is very much part of our art and policy initiative, which I believe is fairly unique to this kind of planning process. And we should feel proud of the fact that we've engaged in many different ways. Again, this Minneapolis artist, Peter Hawken Thompson, helped create some of this work at a recent workshop. Local artist Louis Fitch created the posters that we were looking at here, and Councilmember Pacheco described in an earlier meeting his importance both in this region, but from Mexico. And he's been honored in Mexico as somebody who's been engaged in many of this work, including in the state of Minnesota on the development of our new flag. So in addition to these displays, there's also a 2050 work in the outside hallway, immediately outside the chambers. So just a few kind of logistics on this hearing process. This is a public hearing, so anyone who wishes to be allowed to provide comments, you are welcome to come forward. The one trick is that individuals will have time limits of 3 minutes to comment, and we will have a time up above on clocks, and my friend Mindy here is going to be has worked up color-coded pieces of paper. So if you have a minute, it's yellow, and if like your time is used up, it's red, and it's written there. So now, if you are a representative of an organization, like a mayor of a city or some other kind of organization, you are welcome to speak up to 5 minutes. Okay, it's really not that complicated, 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and then we'll tell you when your time is up. So if you wish to share thoughts at this meeting and you have not signed up in advance, we'll have an opportunity at the end, after we listen to those that have pre-registered. We'll call in the order that people have signed up. And when I ask you to come up, we ask you to share your name, your address, the organization you represent, if you do, And again, you're happy to leave written statements. We will make sure that everybody will get a copy. Clear as mud. So we can begin, and I will go to the sign-in sheet, which is before me. Any questions on process? All right. At first, we're going to listen to Kimberly Johnson. Kimberly here? All right. Mark Statz, City of Centerville. Mark Statz? All right, I'll go back again after we go through the names. Whitney Knoll. Whitney Knoll in the room? All right, Bradley Johnson. I knew somebody was going to be here. Just felt. Welcome. All right, from the city of Oak Grove.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. You are first. So you know.
So my name is Brad
down.
Johnson. I am the chair of the Oak Grove Planning Commission. Council members, staff, and Chair Azali. I appreciate the opportunity to address you today. Councilmember Morales, I appreciate the time you spent with us, along with our area representative earlier this year. We're still want to take you up in the offer to come and address joint session of our council and planning commission. It's just been a very busy summer so far. I'm here to offer our community, from a planning commission's perspective, feedback specifically mostly on the land use policy, but also as it reflects in a whole of the water, transportation, and really the themes that, in our case, in my reading of it, align well with the values of the citizens of Oak Grove. There's a very conservation-heavy emphasis, and a lot of the rationale behind the guidance that's built into this draft plan. And that is something that would be well received and in fact, embraced by the citizens of our community, hopefully seeing a much more collaborative approach to this planning cycle than we did 10 years ago. Specifically, the priority around orderly development and the efficient use of space. You know, one of the things that we look at in our community is the diversity of our assets from a natural perspective. We have a lot of surface water. We have a lot of natural space. I love that I look outside my home office window every day and see a mama deer and a little fawn playing around, running between the backyards, following the resources that are retained in our existing pattern of development at an average of 2.5 acres per lot. And I'm heartened to see that we are continuing to be guided as a rural residential community. I'm a little bit concerned with the way the phrasing is worded for the 1 to 2.5 acre existing, 1 per 10 acre where possible, but that's something that we can easily work through with staff prior to issuing the final edition of this. I also believe that the objective around connecting communities is important as well. We're embracing the implementation of a regional trail system throughout our community. And in fact, supporting integrating things like protected crossings at roundabouts that are being installed in anticipation of the regional development of our trail system in cooperation with Anoka County. In addition to that, objective number 4, prioritizing land use and development activities that protect, restore, and enhance natural systems at all scales. Our park process, which includes a mixture of developed, undeveloped, and accessible park resources spread throughout our community, and in many cases walkable, either on very infrequently traveled streets or through trail connectors, aligns very well with that objective based on how we work with our developers within our community. In addition to the parks that are in existing neighborhoods, the city has made investments in creating new natural resources, including natural access trails through woods and prairie lands, and outdoor recreation for all seasons. We also look at how we ensure the affordability of housing in our community. Affordability isn't just the bricks, sticks, roof, and grass that's put down when you build a house. It's how affordable is a community to live in after you've moved there. Our community continues to be ranked in the bottom 4 of taxing at our tax capacity, managing every penny that's spent, keeping our community affordable, not just for people who want to join us, which we've had a lot of new residents join us in Oak Grove, but for those who want to retire and fulfill the rest of their lives in our community. That also dovetails into our very openness to accessory dwelling units, allowing our families to age in place in multi-generational settings. Multi-generational farming, looking at opportunities to leverage the emphasis on urban and suburban and close to the urban interface farming opportunities on smaller scales, seeing that there's guidance to bring the size limits down to apply for these assets is also very important to our community. We look at the housing opportunities as it was assessed in the accessibility. While the document only shows a portion of our community as being assessed for affordability, I'm very happy that 100% of that was affordable at that 50% mark to all strata as it was evaluated. And that is something that we would love to work on, continuing to maintain that, and perhaps even measure the rest of our community to make sure that we're doing that. In closing, again, I see a lot of really positive alignment between our goals as a rural, as a outdoor, as a natural resource community, not likely to develop in any density greater than 2.5 acres, but act as that green resource, as a carbon sink for the region, as a destination for the rain that falls that recharges our top aquifers. And in order to do that, it'll take this continued collaboration around our existing development pattern and leveraging these smaller scale farming opportunities for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, institutions get 5 minutes, individuals 3 minutes. We got Nancy Negrete. Is Nancy in the audience? All right, Angela Reed. Angela Reed. Rosie Russell. All right, Rosie Russell. Gary Gustafson. Must be traffic.
Yes, there is. They're all caught on the freeway
Gary Gustafson.
because the bus would be here.
David Bicking, Minneapolis. David. Jamie Bracemeister. Jamie Bracemeister. All right, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Evan Roberts. Evan.
I only just made it, but thanks to the wonderful...
Good timing.
Thanks to the wonderful Metro Transit system. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Evan Roberts. I'm a resident of Minneapolis. I'm a demographer. I've taught urban history and sociology at the University of Minnesota since 2010. I'm presently leading a project to develop a detailed zoning atlas for Minnesota as part of a broader national zoning atlas effort to make land use rules more transparent around the country. So my testimony is informed by my professional expertise and experience, but doesn't represent a position of those organizations. I want to particularly comment, given that introduction, on the housing and land use aspects of Imagine 2050. And I want to sort of say at the outset that I think this is a very forward-looking document. It's in the vogue of a lot of proposals to reform housing and land use around the country, and more broadly around the English-speaking world, where we've developed pretty similar outcomes of restricting housing supply and having rapidly rising housing prices. On a sort of a personal note, I think you can tell I did not grow up around here. I grew up in New Zealand, and I've seen New Zealand restrict housing supply, $1 million homes, median prices. I would say on a sort of a personal level, I would like to see my adopted home of Minnesota avoid those negative outcomes of housing and unaffordability. So Imagine 2050, I think, recognizes that we can't address our present social, environmental, and economic challenges with the land use policies of the 1920s and 1970s. Those policies have fundamentally shaped the region we live in today, which has a modest scattered core of walkable density, but is largely sprawled outward in the last 40 to 50 years. Most of the land in our region is reserved for detached housing with large yards. And Imagine 2050 imagines a different future where people have more housing choices. Recognizing that people have to live somewhere, cities have allowed some areas for apartments, but we've pushed people into sort of housing situations which systematically raise housing costs, either by requiring a lot of land or by incentivizing higher construction cost points with 6-, 7-story buildings. What we've really not made opportunities for is smaller scale multifamily in townhouses, 2 to 4 stories throughout the region, townhouses as infill housing and accessory dwelling units. Broadly changing land use policies will not lead to dramatic transformations everywhere. The 750,000 people who will come to our region in the next 20 years, as imagined or projected by Imagine 2050, can fit into the land that we use today, the boundaries of our cities. We will provide more opportunities for families to make different housing choices for an aging population, smaller family sizes. Thank you. I appreciate the work that's been done and urge you to take up these policies.
Thank you so much for coming. Now call on Joe Janish, City of Andover.
Thank you. I do have some handouts here if I might be able to share those.
I'll pass them on. Yeah.
First, I'd like to thank Met Council staff and our council representative. They came to our city council last night, met as part of a work session. Our city council right now is expecting to submit roughly 32 formal comments related to Imagine 2050. And what I wanted to talk about was just a couple of those items this evening. The first one is a request for an appeals process. The impacts to the density increase moving from 3 to 4 units per acre, and then also the possible impact to rural residential not being consistent. So as part of an appeals process, what the city of Andover is asking for is a process in which Met Council staff and city staff have a disagreement and a policy as part of the Imagine 2050. And what we're asking for is the ability to approach the Community Development Committee or the Met Council Board as a whole to essentially explain our side and believe why we are meeting the intent of that policy or that objective. Another item that we're looking at on page 2, the bottom slide that I have here is a comparison from 1974 to our current MUSA, which is represented by the red line. You can see a red circle in kind of the pink area. That's the 1974 MUSA, or what we expected to service. That pink circle is the end of the line. That's the Coon Rapids Interceptor in the city of Andover. Really, everything north of that going east or west is a city of Andover sewer line or sanitary sewer line. If we move to the next page, we can see the development framework in December 1979. In 1979, there was discussion about having 2 additional interceptors provided to the city of Andover. So going back to 1974 to 1979, the city of Andover has been going off of the 1 interceptor that stops at that red circle, and we've been providing sanitary sewer piping to service our community. In 1991, instead of 2, there was possibly one additional interceptor that would service our community, and that's identified by the hash line there. Moving to page 4, as part of our comprehensive plan in December 2001, that 1 interceptor line was really determined not to be feasible. There was determination that there were some smaller lots, the cost to run sanitary sewer to 2.5 acre lots or through 2.5 acres to get to an area where you can go back to urban had proven to be cost prohibitive. So that interceptor was removed in 2001. However, in 2001, the city set aside roughly 1,000 acres for a rural reserve. That was done as part of the discussions as our Andover High School came to our community, and it was thought that this 1,000 acres could possibly have 2,000 homes on it. As part of our comprehensive plan update in 2008, our city staff, our engineering department, utilized an Excel spreadsheet and actually determined, working with Met Council staff, what is our sewer flow that's coming from our homes. And in 2008, we were able to determine that we can service more areas, expand our MUSA, if we were to use numbers that we were seeing that were actually produced from our homes. So currently, and going back to 2008, the city of Andover has been using a daily maximum wastewater flow lower than what the Met Council uses in other communities, and that's lower by 49 gallons. So we expanded our MUSA to service additional homes or to allow for additional construction as part of that process. A couple other things to mention is Andover does not use a peaking factor for commercial properties. So again, as we're doing our modeling, we're showing a lower sewer flow than what Met Council uses in many other communities. It was acceptable to Met Council at that time due to the relatively new infrastructure that we have in our low I&I. If we were to use the 274, our model would show that the sanitary sewer system would be over capacity today. I'll jump to the last page here, rural residential. In order to meet the 4 units per acre, we are short roughly 500 units or homes in our current MUSA boundary. Our capacity has about 120 that we can provide for that. If we were to look at reducing our MUSA, then that means we would have an area that would not be rural residential, because that's now inconsistent as part of Imagine 2050, so that would have to be at a 1 per 10 acre development. Something to note is in those areas, they've really been in our comprehensive plan to be within our MUSA for the last 20, 30 years. And we've had homeowners or landowners that have made determinations to use this as their retirement, and now it's going to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm calling on Ashaki Brown from the Minneapolis-Pillsbury United Communities. Ashaki Brown. Okay, Manu Lewis from Egan Mon Yukon Consulting. Manu Lewis. All right. Patty Nauman. Patricia Nauman. Welcome.
Thank you. I can attest that the traffic was very bad trying to get here, so probably some are stuck out there. I'm glad I'm not. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Metropolitan Council. It's my pleasure to be here today. My name is Patricia Nauman, and I'm the Executive Director of Metro Cities. Metro Cities represents cities across the 7-county metropolitan area at the legislature, as well as Metropolitan Council. And just again, as brief background in our role in representing the shared interests of cities at the council, we do take a keen eye, close eye at all the work that you do, including policies, funding, grant programs, and et cetera. And basically, our representation of cities here at the council was a key reason that our association was created back in 1974. So it's a role that we take very seriously. In this role, Metro Cities does, again, monitor council activities, its programs, comprehensive plan requirements, sewer availability charge, inflow and infiltration, livable communities, and pretty much the slate of work that you do here. Metro Cities also has its own slate of policies that relate to all things Metropolitan Council, basically, and how they, the work that you do here intersects with city governments across the region. Many, if not most, regional policies and programs do closely intersect with the work of cities, as cities are responsible for implementing much of what you do here. So thus, cities do take, again, a key interest in your work and do consider themselves to be your primary constituency, or certainly one of your primary constituencies. Metro Cities does appreciate the ongoing discussions and engagement with Metropolitan Council members and staff as the draft regional guide is being developed, and the many meetings that we have had along with city officials with your staff on basically the policy concepts as they've been developed. Metro Cities does further appreciate the attention given in Imagine 2050 to the region's strengths and challenges, and providing frameworks for addressing those challenges, as well as the growth of the region and opportunities for it in the coming decades. We do share an interest of ensuring that the region remains resilient, dynamic, and responsive to all who live and work here in our metropolitan region. Just a couple of things on the guide. I do just want to say first that we plan to issue a formal written response that will provide a lot more detail, because this time here is very short today and certainly want to respect it. And those written comments will identify more specific observations, areas of concerns, areas that we support, et cetera. A few things I do wish to just highlight today: that our review of the guide and its regional policies will be focused, basically, or using a lens of the regional policy intersections with the role and functions of city governments in the region. In our read so far, it is likely that many of our comments will focus on land use, density, and housing, those sections of your regional guide, and what is outlined in terms of requirements as well as expectations for cities going forward. And to that end, Mr. Chair and members, I do just want to say that during the 2018 round of comprehensive plans, Metro Cities did hear from many city officials on their concerns with the processes and basically requirements for those plans, so we are taking an especially close eye on this regional guide. Cities did identify a number of areas of concern, including areas where they thought the council was maybe overstepping on its authority, as well as maybe impinging on city decision-making authorities. Some were also concerned with a lack of clarity on whether something was either being required or suggested. So that will also be a lens that we're looking at the guide. Over the last few years, we've been in many discussions with your staff ahead of this guide being developed to ensure that requirements for cities in this next round of plans will be reasonable, appropriate to the role of the council, and would not overly impede on local autonomy and self-determination. Metro Cities does, finally, I just want to say, understand and appreciate that the challenges for our region are many. Okay, oh, yep, that's all I've got. And require thoughtful, balanced leadership. In this, we do appreciate your work. We know you work hard here, and we appreciate your work with your local partners, and we will do our part to ensure that these relationships and work continue to be thoughtful and productive going forward. So thank you for your time today.
Great, thank you so much. Now I'll call on Nina Vongplath from Hennepin County. Nina? Dan O'Leary, City of Sunfish Lake. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair, members. Thank you very much. My name is Dan O'Leary, and I'm the mayor of Sunfish Lake. I'm speaking to you on behalf of our city council and all of our residents. We thank you for the opportunity to address you on issues of critical importance to our city. A brief background for those of you that may be unfamiliar with Sunfish Lake. We are a small city encompassing about 1.5 square miles. We are immediately adjacent to and south of our sister city, West St. Paul. With a population, they have 21,000. On the west, we are bordered by Mendota Heights, which has a population of a little over 11,000. On the east and south, we are bordered by Inver Grove Heights, which has a population of over 35,000. According to the last census, we have a population of 521. Our city clerk informed me that we have 193 households. Our city has, and still is proposed in Imagine 2050, a designation by Met Council of rural residential community. We have no access to public transportation, no ability to get around our city without a motor vehicle. Our city is all septic systems and wells. We have no commercial and only 4 churches in our community. Our ordinances restrict all building other than the churches to be single-family residential. And the reason for that is within that small area, we have 3 lakes. If any of you are familiar with there, we have very steep terrain. It's very difficult to build, and one of the key things that require us to have single-family residential is because we need a drain field and we need an alternate drain field, and they take up a lot of space. I talked to our city engineer, and he indicated that it would be cost prohibitive to try to do a drain field, alternative drain field, even for a duplex. So our concern is that, and I will tell you, I know I have a few minutes, but I'll try to make it real. I just have spent 6 months with the most lovely young couple I've ever met, with 3 of the cutest little boys, 3, 5, and 7. And every time I go over on Sunday, they have these cute little bow ties. They're just a wonderful people. And they have, because they didn't know about drain field problems, their drain fields don't work. They're now into $110,000 for their mound system, and they're not finished. That is not something that can be affordable housing for people of low income or moderate income. Our city council serves pro bono. We believe it's important to give back to the community. We do, however, every January, put in the minutes that we give ourselves a 300% salary increase, because of course 300% times 0 is still 0. As required by state statutes, we have 2 city employees, a city clerk and a city treasurer. All other staff are contract staff. I mentioned to you West St. Paul is our sister city, and I mean that not just figuratively, but literally. We have a fabulous relationship. The statutes allow us, in essence, to share their finance director, Shar Stark, who is amazing, as our city treasurer. So she can be a city employee and still be the employee of West St. Paul. We have contracted with their building inspection department, which also is excellent, to do our building inspection services. And similarly, their excellent police department, in my opinion, one of the finest in the state, provides our services. Mendota Heights provides our fire protection. Our council and residents certainly laud the legislature and laud this council for your efforts on affordable housing. However, our great concern is one size fits all. That's impossible. And I will speak as 50 years as a trial lawyer, and the unintended consequences of statutes and rules promulgated is the basic essence of the problem with law. The essence of democracy is of the people, by the people, and for the people. As bright as you all are, you are not going to be able to know all of the local nuances and determinations that come into it. Of critical importance to Sunfish Lake is a provision in Imagine 50 that says each community, no matter what their designation, must allow more than one type of housing or residential land use. We respectfully ask you to ensure in your final document that you exclude cities like Sunfish Lake from the requirement to have more than one type of residential housing, because it's simply the only person that would benefit from that is nobody in low and moderate income. It would be to the developers who would be able to sell 2 very expensive homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and if I could, I was going to put this in, but if I could add this to the record.
Sure.
It is a 2015 system statement from Met Council, and it has in here on page 4, the council has determined that Sunfish Lake does not have a share of the region's need for low and moderate income. We still do not.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll make sure that's
That to me, I'll pass it on to the important
Thank
people
you.
that way.
Now, Deb McMillan from City of Victoria. Deb McMillan. Brian McCann from Victoria. How about Jen Brewington from the City of Victoria? Jim Schultzler. Welcome, Jim.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council here, it's a privilege to be in front of you. I used to do this as a job 50 years ago, back in 71 to 87. So it's fun to see all your faces here. They look different. But it's your organization, my former employer, I think has an extraordinary record in what it has accomplished over the last 50 years, and has a lot more to do as time goes on. I'd like to address first my name, Jim Schutler. I live at 1906 Eleanor Avenue in St. Paul. And I'm also a member of CART, which stands for Citizen Advocates for Regional Transit. And I'm here to speak on transit and that portion of this draft document. And in particular, what's missing from it. There's quite a lot of good work in this. It's a lengthy document, and I know the kind of work that's gone into this, having done it myself. But when it comes to transit, I'd like to say that what I read here is mostly 20th century. We're already a quarter of the way into the 21st century. But we still have a 20th century mindset in the way we conceive of public transit. And not just this metro area, most others. What you have here, I believe, in your draft document perpetuates a 2 downtown hub and spoke system of 100 years ago, and seems oblivious to the world we have today. Now, I know it's not oblivious, but it seems that way, especially what the pandemic has taught us, which is that you don't need these office structures all in one or two areas. Most of us don't need to go downtown. We will have less incentive in the future. But there is plenty of need for transit outside of the downtowns. While many of us weren't looking, in the last 75 years, we have built a regional community based on the automobile and road system that engenders dozens of metropolitan centers and many thousands, tens of thousands of destinations, all outside of the two downtown area. A transit system focused on the two downtowns offers little for the 21st century public. Well over, I would say, 80% of this public would say you can't get there from here as far as most of their health needs, shopping needs, work needs, school needs, so forth. And as it is today, they'll never be able to say you can get there from here with public transit. The concepts you have, like transit equity, are quite good. But how does the region get that? The goal you should have for this document in this region is you can get there from here by transit and in a reasonable amount of time. We already have what we would call universal vehicular transportation.
Okay, we have to kind of wrap it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spent too much time at the beginning. I will submit a written portion of this, but I hope you'll keep in mind you can get there from here in a reasonable amount of time and what that implies for the transit system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Sophia Skelly. Is Sophia Skelly here? All right. Then coming in, we've had Lincoln Wells from St. Paul. Welcome, Lincoln.
Hello. My name is Lincoln Wells, and I live in St. Paul. I work in mosquito and tick-borne disease research. And I initially moved to the Metro in 2015 to go to grad school here before leaving to kind of pursue my career. In 2022, I convinced my wife to move from Honolulu back to the Metro as a place to set down roots. She's a public librarian in Oakdale. And since then, we've convinced my mom, who works for Scott County government in Shakopee, to move here, as well as my sister-in-law, who is an engineer working in Coon Rapids, and her husband, who works for the state government in St. Paul, all to move to the Metro. And one of the reasons why it's so easy to convince people to move here is that it's relatively affordable from the various metros that we moved to from across the US. Specifically related to the Imagine 2050 bill, I'm talking about housing. But I'm really concerned that going forward, housing will not be this affordable in the Metro. And I believe that the only way really to remain or to keep housing affordability down is to increase density across the Metro, not just in places like Minneapolis and St. Paul, but in Shakopee, in Oakdale, in Coon Rapids. Things like allowing universal access for property owners to build duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, things like that, will ensure that quality workers like myself and my family are able to move to the Metro and contribute positively. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my main message. Kind of going through the Imagine 2050 documents, something else that really speaks to me is I would really appreciate if there was more rigorous data collection from the various cities across the Metro, ensuring that good data is being gathered on new greenfield development as well as upzoning across the Metro to make sure that the cities themselves are being held accountable to the standards that the Met Council is setting for them to ensure that the new housing types are able to be built across the Metro. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And now we have Dan O'Leary from Sunfish Lake.
He already went.
Oh, I see. You were signed up twice. You don't have to go again. I'm going to go back and then open it up to anybody who is here has not signed up. But I just want to call through these names again, so bear with me as I call on because of traffic and lateness. Kimberly Johnson, Mark Statz, Whitney Knoll, Nancy Negrete, Angela Reed, Rosie Russell, Gary Gustafson, David Bicking, Jamie Bracemeister, Ashika Brown, Manu Lewis, Nina Fongpeth, Deb McMillan, Brian McCann, Jen Brewington. All right, well, that was good. We checked it the second time. Now, is there anybody here who is not signed up that would like to address the council? Karen, you're in the first row. Come forward.
Thank you, Chair and Council. My name is Greg Struve. I apologize. I thought I signed up online, but obviously I didn't make the list. But I am from Eagan, Minnesota, and I'm also a member of the Citizen Advocates for Regional Transit. I'm here today to request revisions to the transportation policy portion of the new plan regarding the Riverview Corridor modern streetcar. Following 10 years of study and over $10 million in consulting fees, on September 6th of this year, Ramsey County has indefinitely shelved the project without a final determination of an alternative that included modern streetcars. CART has been following this project since the beginning and has strenuously opposed any rail alternative on 7th Street. Final rail alternatives being considered were misleading. Modern streetcars are actually LRT vehicles, expensive, over $2 billion in initial costs, an additional $37 million in annual operating, operating slower than the Route 54 bus, not exactly a regional transit system. And then the project itself had too much of a negative impact, including reducing existing traffic capacity on 7th Street and the Highway 5 bridge, and eliminating large amounts of street parking on 7th. CART and property owners on 7th Street request that all maps, illustration, and text relating to Riverview Corridor as a modern streetcar, especially as what's best designated a funded expansion transitway, be removed from the study at this time. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Come forward. Welcome.
Ryan or Deb?
Hi. Thank you, Chair Zelli and members. My name is Katie Jones. I live in Minneapolis, and I'm also the DFL endorsed candidate for Minnesota House District 61A. And so I'm pleased to be speaking to you on a topic that's near and dear to my heart and something that I've been talking to residents about for the last 8 months or so. But first, I do also have to thank all the staff who worked on this plan. So I currently work at an energy efficiency nonprofit and was able to work on some of the climate action framework for the institution of Met Council. And I think that was a great starting point that has actually helped lead into some of the work that we see in the current draft, Imagine 2050. So I'm very excited with the direction of all of that. I also just have to say that, so I come from rural Indiana, but fell in love with Minnesota at an early age because of a summer camp up in Bemidji, Minnesota. And one of the reasons I fell in love with Minnesota is because of our natural areas. And Minnesotans, we value our natural lands, we value our agricultural lands, and what is so key about our regional planning is that it helps us reduce sprawl and to make sure that we're planning very thoughtfully. And so, last year, we became a leader in finding policy that helps us reduce sprawl and finding metrics that help guide that direction. I actually worked with Representative Frank Hornstein on that policy so that we have metrics around greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled. And so I'm excited to see that come about in this comprehensive planning, and want to make sure that we're continuing to hold that accountability because, we as a region have to be planning at that higher level. As we look to the future and the bold leadership that is required in the face of climate change, regional planning plays an ever-critical role to keeping our climate goals front and center while holding our local governments accountable to helping us achieve those goals. We have an opportunity with Imagine 2050 to continue to protect what we care about here in Minnesota for our state, our region, and our local communities. So I'm also an engineer, so I really like the details, and so I've been digging through the plan, and I want to just mention, I really appreciate the holding the line of the MUSA line. I think that is really critical, and just continuing to think about that gentle, compact, development is, I think, important. I personally live in a triplex, or bought a triplex because of the affordability of making that work for my family, and then built an accessory dwelling unit. So there are lots of examples throughout our region that we can, provide to different members of our region to show what the future can be. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Katie Jones. We have a hand in the back. Go on, come forward.
Good evening, Council, or good afternoon, depending on what we want to call it, and Chair. My name is Richard Nelson. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Committee of Centerville. And what we are doing is addressing what we consider to be things that would affect fully built-out communities. And in this case, Centerville is nearly fully built out, and additional changes here will affect our infrastructure costs tremendously. We're asking that there be an exemption for communities and cities with less than 100 acres. That's one. Two, the missing in the middle bill that was in the legislature last year. Yeah, we would like to have some attention to that in the event that this will come around again, and hope that does not affect the Met Council, because the Met Council works and works well and is very well accepted. And lastly, we think for the 2050 density planning, the best thing is incentivizing redevelopment. I'm not even up to my 1 minute yet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other, go ahead, I see a hand.
Hello, my name's Asa Stanfield. I live 2 blocks away because I am car free. I take the Green Line to Aldi, which is like 30 minutes away, one way and back. There's not much I can do here, but that's why I live here, because I have all the transit that takes me to where I need to go. I'm also an AmeriCorps service member. I am a housing resource navigator at St. Paul College. I work with students to help them find housing resources, which often means just pointing them to a nonprofit somewhere that can help them with their need. But sometimes it also means helping them find affordable housing, like looking through apartments.com or Zillow or whatever. And a lot of my students who are also non-traditional students, they've been to work and they're back at school because they need to be back at school. They're also car free. And it pains me to tell them way too many times that the closest affordable option is like over an hour away on transit. We need more housing. St. Paul College is in a neighborhood that is like mostly single family homes. There's a few apartment buildings, but we're missing the middle. We need the middle because we need to get people who are car free to where they need to go and where they have to be. I go to Aldi. I wish there was I go to Aldi because I have to go there because there's no affordable groceries here in St. Paul, unfortunately. We have an amazing intersection down at Jackson and 4th, but like it's all parking ramps for some reason. It's like the intersection is small, it's a safe crossing distance, there's greenery, and it's parking ramps. So I'm imploring that everyone gives serious thought to the missing middle, transit-oriented development. We just need more housing, more places, so people can be near the places they need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to testify? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I raced here.
I'm Nancy, and I work in the community. I live in the community, been raised in the community. My mom's from Red Lake, and my dad immigrated from Mexico. So I'm a big fan of all the work of Metropolitan Council when it comes to transportation, development. And I agree, we do need housing and a lot of other things, but my main concern is accessibility to all these resources. And I totally appreciate the 2025 transportation that's coming forward. But my main concern is how people have access and knowledge to all these great resources. And the one thing we lack is one consistent channel that kind of puts all these things in one accessible kind of a point of view. And I even speak that with healthcare because I work at Planned Parenthood. I know there's a 411, a 511. I think Planned Parenthood should have like an 811. But I think there should be something, a channel locally, because all of these resources, when I go into these communities, I work with elders at the Elders Lodge. I also work part-time at a homeless shelter for homeless youth, Native American homeless youth specifically, but we take everybody. And they all lack the knowledge of these basic resources. And I don't know how else to get them but a channel, because I know kids will watch this channel. And I just think that if we have these great resources, we have to find a better way to message these resources to these people, because they will utilize them. Because once I educate them on some of these basic things, it makes such a big difference. But most of all, I just wanted to voice my concern for the access to healthcare in clinics and hospitals. I wish that could be free for every patient or some way to communicate it better, because with Lyft, I find my vulnerable people struggling right now because there's a conflict of how they can access transportation to their appointments to keep up whatever program they have, because sometimes they're in programs that kind of require you to follow to get meds and access and, and just many more avenues to access. And which is, it seems like I'm asking for a lot, but as someone who works every day hard with these people, I'm lucky I don't have to struggle like that, but I wish I could find a way to get more of this access to everybody, like a public channel for Metropolitan Council resources or something. But, so that's my wish. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I see any other hands up? All right, going once, going twice. Well, I just want to thank those that are here, those that have spoken. All the public comments are very welcome and will be part of the record, and certainly we've all listened carefully. Again, I'll just mention that we are going to be receiving comments through 5 p.m. Monday, October 7th, quite precise. And there are many ways to do that. Writing to Met Council here at 390 Robert Street North, or emailing us at public.info@met.state.mn.us. A recorded comment, 651-602-1500, or TTY, that's 651-291-0904, or even a public portal at engage.metrocouncil.org. At the close of the process, the staff is going to actually publish a summary of all the public statements, comments, and they'll actually accompany policy plans that will be considered for approval by the Met Council. And that approval timeline is roughly February of 2025. So we have many steps to go. This is still a draft. Your comments are valued. And with that, appreciate everybody's time today. This meeting is adjourned.